Hello students, I welcome to all of you to this session of refrigeration and air conditioning. Dear students, this is Dhiraj Mondol, Assistant Professor, Department of Mechanical Engineering, JIS College of Engineering, Kolani, West Bengal. So here today we are going to discuss about the refrigeration components and control part 4. This is your lecture number 25. You know that in the refrigeration components and control we have discussed the compressor part. Okay, so two classes has been taken on compressor. Last class we have taken some few parts of the compressor and the condenser, where we have we were discussing the condenser part. So let us start. So the condenser, here you can see the reciprocating compressor. It is discussed in the earlier classes. If you have not seen that lecture, please see the lecture. The link will be provided to you. Okay, so lecture number 22, search lecture number 22 in the YouTube or in HASH portal. You can see you can access this lecture. Now the compressor, the reciprocating compressor was discussed. Reciprocating compressor, then after the rotary compressor, this rotary compressor, vane type and your roller type rotary compressor was discussed. Then after the centrifugal compressor was discussed, screw compressor discussed, scroll compressor also discussed, scroll compressor. Okay, hermetically sealed compressor, it is also discussed. So you know, the last class we were started the condenser, and we have seen the air cooled condenser, water cooled condenser and evaporative condenser. These are the three types of condenser. So let us start the now the last class we have discussed the heat rejection factor, where we have seen the heat rejection factor is the QC, that is your condenser heat. Okay, so the heat rejection at the condenser QC by refrigeration effect, and QC is equal to what? Refrigeration effect plus W, Rn plus W. So 1 plus 1 by COP, that is the heat rejection factor, and it is depending upon the COP of the refrigeration, and also that means it is depending on the condenser and evaporator temperature. Okay, and the heat rejection factor, we have seen that it is about 1.25 of actual air conditioning equipment for refrigerant R12 and R22 operating at the condenser temperature 40 degree and evaporator temperature 5 degree centigrade. Okay, so keep it in your mind, it can be asked in the MCQ question. Okay, now the effect of compression ratio on heat rejection factor, let us discuss. For the same load on the evaporator, the heat load on the condenser will increase if the heat of the compression increases, since the heat of the compression is the heat developed from the work done on the suction gas in the compressing it and the raising its pressure to the heat pressure. The heat of the compression will increase if the compression ratio increases. Okay, so the load on the condenser, that is heat rejection factor, will increase with an increase in the compression ratio, and the heat rejection factor of a plant varies with the operating condition of the plant, that is the evaporator temperature and the temperature of the condensing medium. So to obtain optimum performance from a plant, the heat pressure should be kept reasonably low by maintaining the condenser tubes and condenser water system clean. Okay, now the air cooled condenser, in this figure you can see the inlet pipe. In the inlet pipe, the refrigerant it is entering, which is coming out from the evaporator, and from the compressor, and this coming it is out at the outlet. We can see high temperature, high pressure, low temperature refrigerant it is entering into the evaporator part. Now this condenser, in this condenser heat is removed by air using natural convection or forced convection circulation. Okay, these condensers are made of steel, copper and aluminum tubing provided with fin to improve air aided transfer. Okay, so the air is the heat is removed by air using either natural convection or forced convection circulation. Okay, so the natural condenser we can discuss here. In this condenser, air movement over the surface of the condenser tube is by natural convection. Okay, in heat transfer you have gone through the conduction, convection, radiation. Okay, so nothing to discuss what is convection. So here basically the whole medium is you are in case of conduction only there is not any kind of movement of the molecules. Okay, but in case of convection a medium is used and the movement of the molecules is there. Okay, so as air comes in contact with the warm condenser tube, it absorbs heat from the refrigerant and thus the temperature of air increases. Okay, and the warm air being lighter, warm air is lighter and rises up, and in its place cooler in its place cooler air from below rises to take away the heat from the condenser. Like if you are heating up in below the below a shell and a shell is full of water, then you will see that in the bottom portion the water particle it will heat it up and it will move upward, and the from the upper portion of the shell the water is moving downward. So this is that means the circulation water will take place because of this convection process. Okay, so the what happened, the warm air it is lighter and rises up and the cold air it is moving down. Okay, so this is the way rises to take away the heat from the condenser. The cycle goes on since the air moves very slowly by natural convection. Okay, it is happening naturally. Okay, the rate of flow of heat from the refrigerant to air will be small. Thus, a small convection condenser is not capable of rejecting heat rapidly. Therefore, a relatively large surface area of the condenser is required. Okay, so the natural convection condenser it is not capable of rejecting the heat rapidly, and therefore relatively large surface area of the condenser is required. The use of this type of condenser is limited to small units such as domestic refrigerator and small water cooler, which use vertical wire and tube or plate and tube, and it requires very little maintenance. Okay, so this requires very little maintenance. Is in case of natural convection, so the circulation of air is taking place naturally, and the particular by the help of fin what happened, the refrigerant it is here cooling down. Okay, so but the rate of cooling process is very low, so that this is why the forced circulation is taken under that means forced air circulation is needed for in case of condenser. Here the extra arrangement is needed. Extra arrangement means some motor, some fan is fan by the help of some fan or air cooler the condensation is taking place. Okay, so if I am talking about the forced air circulation condenser, then in this type of air cooler condenser a fan or blower is employed to move air over the condenser coil at a certain velocity. Okay, the condenser coil is of the fin type. Okay, it is of the fin type, and fin in such coil are closely spaced. The space between the, that means the range, the closely spaced means it is 5 to 7 fins per centimeter. Okay, the space between fins gets choked with dirt and lint. Therefore, to obtain optimum capacity, the fin should be kept clean always. Okay, so in the bike you have also seen the fin. Some fin is what, some extended material, extended part, which is basically used to increase the rate of cooling process, or it is basically used to liberate the heat from the hot body. Okay, rapidly liberate rapidly heat from the hot body. Okay, so in the engine, and the outer cover of the engine, it will be seen that it is made of aluminum or steel or like this. So the fin is there, and where that fin is basically cooling down the engine. Okay, so the forced air circulation condenser may be divided into two categories based on number one is your base mounted air cooled condenser, and number two is a remote air cooled condenser. Okay, base mounted air cooled condenser, if I'm talking about the base mounted air cooled condenser, these condenser are used, this condenser used condenser use propeller fan and are mounted on the same base of the compressor compressor motor, and compressor motor receive and the other control. The whole arrangement is called your condensing unit. The condensing unit are used in package refrigeration system of 10 tons or less. Okay, if I'm talking about the remote air cool condenser, then these condenser may be horizontal or vertical. They can be located either outside or inside the building, and usually use propeller fan because they have low resistance to airflow and free air discharge. Okay, they are used on system above 10 tons and are available up to 125 ton. The system above 125 tons usually have two or more condenser. Okay, now let us discuss about the advantage of air cooled condenser. Air cooled condenser, basically it is it claims the following in some advantages. Number one is your, it is easy to clean dust or gummy matter. Okay, that collect over fin and tubes. Okay, so it is easy to clean the dust. Okay, and number two is your it is quite compact and easy to mount. Okay, number three is yours, as the surface are visible, its cleaning can be easily checked without special care. And number four, there are no problem about the disposal of hot air flowing through the fin. Okay, not any kind of problem of disposal of hot air flowing through the fin. Okay, so these are the advantages. Okay, in case of the air cooled condenser, air cooled system, the temperature varies between 8 to 15 Kelvin as compared to about 3 to 6 Kelvin for the water cooled condenser. Okay, thus the increased heat pressure in case of air cooled system would result in reduced rating because of reduced volumetric efficiency of the condenser of the compressor, decreased refrigeration effect, and increase the mechanical energy input. So this is all about the air cooled condenser. I hope it is clear. A lot of things will be discussed afterward. The water cooled condenser is there. So what is water cooled condenser? The basically water is taken for condensing purpose, so that is why it is called your water cooled condenser. And the type of water cooled condenser are basically three type: shell and tube condenser, shell and coil condenser, double tube condenser. Okay, so you can see the shell and coil condenser. This is your double pass shell and tube condenser. Okay, so and after that it will be discuss the evaporative condenser. So the water cooled condenser, this is a tube condenser. Okay, so let us discuss what is the shell water cooled condenser. And here the water is taken for condensing the your refrigerant. Okay, let us discuss the shell and tube condenser. So this is the double pass shell and tube condenser. Okay, now what happened, shell and in case of shell and tube condenser, a shell and tube condenser consists of a cylindrical shell in which a number of straight tubes are arranged in parallel and held in place at the end by tube sheet. In the figure you can see, the condensing water is circulated through the tubes, which may be either steel or copper. Okay, maybe either steel or copper, or bare or extended surface. Okay, the refrigerant is contained in the steel shell between the tube sheet. The water circulate in the annular space between the tube sheet and the end plates. Okay, the end plates being baffled to act as manifold to gild water flow through the tubes. The arrangement of the end plate baffling determines the number of passes the water makes through the condenser from one end to the other before leaving the condenser. The number of passes may vary from 2 to 20. Okay, so in such condenser, the upper tube acts as desuperheater, while the tubes at the bottom yield subcooled condensate. If there is any oil associated with refrigerant, it flows with the condensate. Okay, so in case of this water cooled condenser, double pass shell tube condenser, so the condenser the what happened here, the cooling water is entering here in this portion, you can see, and cooling water is out, and the water tube bundles you can see, and the liquid refrigerant in the hot vapor refrigerant from compressor is coming in the upper portion, from the upper portion. And we will see that the after passing through this tube plate. Okay, after passing through this tube plate, it is at the outlet of the pipe, it is your liquid refrigerant to receiver. That means in the receiver the liquid refrigerant is coming out, and it is taken in the expansion valve. So before expansion valve there is a receiver where it is received, and after that according to our need we can use this liquid refrigerant from the receiver. Okay, so this is how the water cooled condenser, double pass shell and tube condenser is operated. I hope it is clear. Now let us discuss about the shell and coil condenser. So in the given figure you can see the shell and coil condenser. In a shell and coil condenser, vapor enters the shell, whereas the cooling water flowing through the coil causes condensation. The main advantages of such these condenser are simplicity in construction and high overall heat transfer coefficient due to the curvature. Okay, but there is a severe cleaning problem of the inside tube surface due to the curvature. Okay, as a general rule, shell and coil condenser are used for small installation up to 35 kilowatt. Okay, so in the figure you can see the hot water refrigerant, the hot vapor refrigerant from compressor, it is entering into the upper portion here, and it is entering into the system, and the cold water, you can see this is your tube bundle, and the cold water is entering into this curvature shape, your curve shape, your tube, and or coil, and it is your warm water which is taking the entire heat, and it is coming out. So hot vapor refrigerant which is coming from compressor, it is coming into contact of this coil and releasing some latent heat here, and after that at the outlet in the liquid refrigerant, it is coming out, and it is placed in the, it is kept in the receiver. So this is the way, and this is the working principle how it is operating. Another one you need to know that the double tube condenser. Okay, so the you can see that basically in case of double tube condenser, the double tube condenser has a condensing water tube inside the refrigerant tube. The refrigerant flows in the space between the tubes while the water is pumped through the inner tube. Water flows in the opposite direction to the refrigerant, with the coolest water in contact with the coolest refrigerant, and the warmest water with the warmest refrigerant. Since the copper tubing cannot be used with ammonia, this type of condenser is made up of steel pipe for ammonia. Okay, so though the counterflow principle with double tube condenser makes good use of water available, the large number of points and connection needed in large installation increases chances of leakage. Okay, so these condensers are difficult to clean and do not provide enough space for separation of gas and liquid. For this reason, they are not much used in larger modern installation, and some small unit are used in new installation, but they must be cleaned chemically. In case of leak, entire unit must be replaced. Okay, so this is all about the double tube condenser. Now if I am comparing the water tube and air cooled condenser, so we will say that the if particular construction in case of water tube condenser, it is complicated, but in case of air cooled condenser, it is very simple. Okay, construction is very simple. Okay, so construction is complicated in case of water cooled condenser. In case of air cooled condenser, it is very simple. Maintenance cost. If I am talking about maintenance cost, for air cooling condenser it is very high, but in case of air cooled condenser it is low. Okay, so these are that this is your second number comparison. Number 3 is your handling of units. Handling of units in case of water cooled condenser, it is very difficult, but no handling problem is required. No handling problem is not is seen in the air cooled condenser. Okay, next is your carrying of water. Carrying of water means your how the water is carrying. So pipes are needed to carry water and to carry water to and from the condenser. Okay, but no pipe arrangement is required for carrying water in case of air cooling condenser. Okay, so it is cooled by air. Now the disposal of the used water that means if I'm talking about the disposal of the used water, there is no problem of disposal of used water unless a recirculation system is provided. But in case of air cooled condenser, no problem in disposing of air. Okay. And corrosion, if I'm talking about the corrosion, the corrosion occurs in case of water cooled condenser, because it is totally always the portion will be wet, so that is why the corrosion problem is there. But corrosion does not occur in case of air cooled condenser. You know that if some material is dipped into water, then what will happen? Corrosion erosion problem will be there. So that is why the corrosion occurs in case of water cooled condenser. Fouling factor, if I am talking about fouling factor, is more here. What is fouling factor? I am coming afterward, but users need to know fouling factor is more here and air cooled condenser is less here. Okay, so you have gone through in the heat transfer subject also this one. And the heat transfer capacity, what is heat transfer capacity in case of water cooled condenser? It is very high, but in case of air cooled condenser the heat transfer capacity is low. Okay, next is your fan noise. So in case of water cooled condenser no fan noise is there, but in case of air cooled condenser in case of forced convection type of air cooled condenser, the noise is there, in which unwanted objectionable objectionable noise can be created. Okay, so but in case of natural convection there is not any kind of fan use, it is naturally it is cooling down. But in case of forced convection the noise can be created. Next is your number 10, it is your flexibility. What is in case of water cooled condenser the flexibility is low, but in case of air cooled condenser the flexibility is very high. Next, the application. What are the application of water cooled condenser used? It is used for large capacity plant. Okay, in the industry it is used, but it is used for low capacity plant, and that means in industry it is used, but in the large capacity in plant it is used for the water cooled condenser, and the effectiveness and or the efficiency is more compared to the air cooled condenser. Okay, so the water cooled condenser is very important, and use of the and the air cooled condenser it is used for low capacity plant. Okay, so these are the comparison. I hope it is clear now. One more thing I would like to explain here, what is the fouling factor. In case of water cooled condenser, the water used depending upon its source contain a certain amount of minerals and other foreign material. This material form deposits inside the condenser tube called water fouling, and the fouling or scaling factor represents the resistance offered by the scale or fouling to the heat flow from the refrigerant to water. The fouling factor is reciprocal of heat transfer coefficient for the material of scale. Okay, and you can the following the recommended fouling factor for the copper tube used for R12 and R22 condenser. The fouling factor is taken is 0.00 000095 meter square second Kelvin per joule, and for a steel tube used in the ammonia condenser the fouling factor is taken 0.00018 meter square second Kelvin per joule. Okay, so this is the important thing. Next class we will be discussing about the evaporative condenser and heat transfer in the cooling in condenser, that will be discussed also. So today up to this, I hope it is clear, water cooled condenser and air cooled condenser. Thank you for listening. Jai Hind.